Hey guys, so I'm going to share with you a basic apple pie recipe that I've used for several years. This recipe is also by Betty Crocker. It's very simple and easy to use, so let's go over what we'll need. First, of course, in addition to the apples, we're going to need some flour and also some sugar, some cinnamon, some nutmeg, and you can use ground nutmeg, but I'm just using what I have on hand. And last but not least, we'll need some salt. Now, if you want, you can just dump all of those ingredients straight onto the apples, but I kind of just like to add them together in a bowl. That way I can kind of just make sure everything's stirred together evenly. Now, if you're using ground nutmeg, obviously you're going to want to follow how much the recipe calls for. But in the case of using nutmeg like this, I am going to use a lot less than what the recipe calls for. Only because if you've never used nutmeg that's whole, it's a lot stronger than the pre-ground nutmeg. So here I'm just mixing those dry ingredients together. And like I said, you can skip this step, but it's just personal preference. Now, if my memory serves me right, I believe this recipe calls for around 8 apples. I have actually only 5 apples in this bowl here. Every single time I've ever made this recipe, I've never ever used the full amount of 8 apples. As a matter of fact, I think I tried once and it was way too much. But again, personal preference, you might want a fuller pie. I just like mine where it's not so tall. So here, once I've got all of the dry ingredients nice and incorporated into the apples, I am dropping them into my pre-made pie crust. If you're interested in the pie crust recipe, I'll actually put the link in this video, and it's really easy to make. And I'll also show you a pain-free way to roll it out. I promise it's not that hard. So once all of those apples are in there, what I'm going to do next is add in about 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just randomly placing them in different spots over the apples. And that's going to give it that nice, rich, buttery flavor, of course. Once I've got that butter distributed evenly, here's where I'm going to try something new that I've never tried before. I wanted to make a decorative border on my pie. So what I did is I took a leaf cutter that I have for my cakes, for my fondant, and I'm just dipping it in a little bit of flour. And I rolled out some extra dough that I had, and I'm just pressing some leaves out. Generally, when I make my pies, I usually just use the fork method, and most of you, I'm sure, will probably know what I'm talking about. The fork method, just to press down on the pie. And I just wanted to try something different. So right here, I am going to be applying an egg wash. Now, generally, I would suggest you have a pastry brush. I tossed my pastry brush some time ago, and because I don't make as many pies as I do cakes, I keep forgetting to purchase a new one, so I'm just using what I have on hand. In case you've never done an egg wash before, I'll make sure I include the recipe as well. So what I did is I divided my egg wash into 3 separate containers and added icing coloring to them. So here's the fun part. I've never tried this before, so this is totally different. I searched online for adding coloring to pie crusts, and I really didn't come up with much. I came up with a few pictures, but really no instructions. So from the pictures, what I could tell is they just added the coloring to the egg wash. Now, I was worried that the egg wash I had with the coloring in it wasn't going to be bright enough. I was worried that once it cooked, some of that coloration was going to fade. So I wanted the colors to really stand out. So on a separate plate, I actually took the icing colors that I had and just left them concentrated and added a little bit here and there to each of the leaves. So this is what it looks like before it's baked. It didn't take long at all, believe it or not, to do the little detailing with the leaves. And this is it after it's completely baked. As you can see from the pictures, my egg wash on the top of the pie isn't exactly even, so I need to buy a new pastry brush. But overall, I was really happy with the detailing of the border. I was really happy with the way the colors came out, and it just gave it a little something extra other than just using the plain standard method that I usually use, which is just pressing a fork down on the edges of the pie. So thanks again for watching, guys, and if you have any suggestions or any comments, please feel free to leave them below. Bye.